everybody. Welcome to EduMatch. So follow along with us at podcast.edumatch.org/tweet talk. You can also tweet along with us with hashtag EduMatch on Twitter. I'm super excited to have with us Rachelle, who we all know and love in the EduMatch community. So welcome, Rachelle, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Yes, it's a pleasure. And for those of you who don't know, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Rachelle. So Rachelle is one of the contributing authors to the upcoming EduSnap 17, also known as EduMatch Snapshot in Education 2017, where we have like 34 people from all over the world submitting different chapters about what education looks like in their own sphere. So let me tell you a little bit about Rachelle if you don't already know her. So Rachelle is a Spanish and STEAM What's Next in Emerging Technology teacher at Riverview Junior Senior High School in Oakmont, Pennsylvania. She's also an attorney and earned her Juris Doctor degree from Duquesne. Is that correct, Duquesne?
Duquesne, yep.
Duquesne University School of Law, and she has a master's degree in instructional technology. She is the president-elect for an ISTE Teacher Education Network and a communications chair for the ISTE Mobile Learning Network and serves as a PA-ECT historian. She was honored to be selected as one of 20 to watch by the NSBA and PA-ECT Outstanding Teacher of the Year for 2017. Very well deserved. Additionally, she is proud to be involved and connect with other educators through ambassador programs including Bunsey, Edmodo Flipgrid, Nearpod, and Recap. And she is also a Microsoft Innovative Educator expert. She enjoys writing and is a regular blogger for Getting Smart and Kid Blog. She wrote Chapter 3 Blended Learning of the EduMatch book Snapshot in Education 2016, and she's now returning for EduMatch Snapshot in Education 2017. And she's also a contributing author to Gamify Literacy from ISTE, and she's working on 2 other writing projects. So Rachelle, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us today. It's definitely a pleasure to chat with you.
Well, I look forward to it, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, for sure. So tell us a little bit about you. What's your background and what inspired you to go into education?
That's like a long, long story. I always loved school, and even as a child, I would come home and play school. My parents were really big on making sure that I was doing my assignments, and that was really important in my home. And I was inspired by my dad, who went to night school, and I had a lot of educators in my family who kind of, I guess, I don't know, they would take me to school sometimes whenever I had off from school, and I guess I just really liked the environment of it. I took French in high school, did really well. When I went to college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I tended to do a lot better in the language courses. And so it was suggested to me that maybe I try education, which I had never really thought of as a profession. And so that's what I went into when I graduated from Penn State. But I couldn't find a job right away teaching, and so I went back and got my Spanish degree. And then it wasn't too long after that that a position opened up in the school where I'm teaching now, teaching both French and Spanish. And I've been there for, this is my 21st year, but I don't really think that I've stopped going to school much in my entire life, because I just keep trying to take new classes and do different things. So it's always a point of discussion in the guidance counselor's offices. Sometimes it's like, go ask Mrs. Poth, what schools to go to, or different majors or things, because I try and keep up with what's going on out there in the world of learning.
Absolutely. You definitely embody that lifelong learner. So that's one of the things that I really respect about you. So as we talked about in your bio, then you actually have a JD. So that is so cool. So if you could tell us, what's your background in law, and in what ways has it influenced your work in the classroom?
Well, I never in a million years would have thought that I would go to law school, but when I was getting the Spanish certification, I took a couple of courses in legal translation at the University of Pittsburgh, and one of the women who was teaching was actually president, I think, or had some higher office that she did for John Deere Corporation, and I got really interested in the legal side. And that's where I started to see the connection with the languages that I was studying. And I thought, I wonder what it would be like to go to law school. So I took the test, got the results, wasn't sure what to do with it, and kind of let it go. And a couple of years later, I think I was in my early 30s, I was thinking about, I wonder if I could have done something differently. And so I took the test again, and I didn't tell anybody that I applied to law school. I didn't want to quit teaching, but I thought maybe this is something I might want to go into. So I applied to Duquesne because they had the evening program, which would allow me to still teach. And I thought if I get in, great, I'll decide. If I don't get in, then I'll know. And I got the letter that I was accepted, and I thought, okay, now what? So it was a really demanding event on my schedule because I was teaching full time and going to law school 4 nights a week for 4 years. But over that time, I developed, I guess, a different understanding of like the classroom and education and how to be a good teacher and to be a mentor. And I developed a lot of different things in the process. It's been 11 years now since I graduated. Practicing law-wise, I wanted to go into criminal law. Was my main focus, but because I didn't want to quit teaching or leave teaching, I just went into doing some like estate planning, things, writing wills on the side. I keep up my law license because it's something, you know, that I have, and maybe someday I'll go into it a little bit more, but it's definitely an experience that I think that has really helped to shape my role as an educator, I think, somehow in the process.
Wow, that is cool. And the more you're talking, the more I'm like thinking, oh, I want to do it too. But then I'm just like, no, Sarah, you just got out of school. So
Well, take a break and then go. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But that sounds really amazing. And so that is really cool. All right. So you are a returning contributing author to EduSnap. So what can people expect to read in your chapter this year?
Well, this year I chose to write about project-based learning, which is something that I got into the last school year. Last summer I had attended Summer Spark conference in Milwaukee and ISTE, and I think it was at that time I had also read the book Launch by A.J. Giuliani and John Spencer. And throughout those experiences, I started to hear people talking about like Genius Hour, 20% time, and innovation, and project-based learning. And it occurred to me like the project-based learning that I thought I had been doing in my classroom really wasn't, that I was just having students learn based on projects, and I was having them do the same thing. And I really did think that for years I had been doing the PBL. So after that experience in the summer, I always like to come back to the classroom with some type of a new approach or idea to kind of mix things up. And last year I did that with my Spanish 3 and 4 classes because I was teaching both of them in the same level. And prior to that in the summer, I asked students to give me some reflection using Flipgrid or Recap, like what they liked from the previous year, what activities they were interested in, what helped them to learn, any topics that they would be more interested in pursuing. And so I took all of that into like my thinking, and whenever we started the school year, I decided to just give it a go. I did some research, and for me, I decided to let them kind of explore their own topics. And it was a work in progress throughout the year. I gave them as much instruction and guidance as I could from research I had done. And throughout the year, just reevaluated it. And at the end of the year, I felt pretty good about it because there's no way that I would have had enough time to give them the opportunity for all of that different, I mean, the different topics they brought in were just tremendous. And I learned so much from them, and they learned so much from each other. And you could just see and feel the excitement when they were presenting something that they were interested in. And being in charge. And, I was the student in the classroom. So the chapter I wrote this year was just based on that experience from last year. And if somebody is interested in trying it or making some changes to maybe how they have been doing it, I'm certainly not an expert. I did put some time in to do some research to go about it, the way that it should be. But it's just our experience, some of the, challenges we faced, and just a narrative of our reflection at the end of the year.
Wow, that's powerful. And I just recently saw you present at Shift in EDU, and just all of the knowledge that you dropped was just amazing. So, and I heard you talk about the students presenting what they learned. So your students do a lot of conference presentations as well.
They do.
Yeah, that is just awesome. That's something I definitely want to see a lot more of in our field. All right, cool. So you are also you make use of hours in the day in a way that I rarely see anybody even approach, right? So you're so good at juggling many things. So one of those things is being so connected with other educators. So in your journey to connecting with other educators, what kinds of things have you learned along the way?
Well, surprisingly, one of the the social media tools that I was so like not into getting myself involved in, being Twitter has just been tremendous for learning, for connecting, for meeting other people, and most importantly, for bringing in opportunities for my students that, without it, if I look back on all of the things that I've learned over the past couple of years using Twitter and the people that I've met, I think how many ideas that I've gotten and how much support I've had from those connections. And it takes time, and you can't take it all on, even though we all try to take it all on in all of the different forms there are. But it's easy to kind of just find one chat or something or one group to start with and follow along just to get some ideas or post an idea. There's so many different communities out there that you can connect with, and it's pretty awesome to have those conversations online and knowing that you can get an answer or share ideas. But when you have that chance to actually meet those people face to face and share that time together, it's like you already know them, which a lot of people think, how does that work? Like you're talking to people that you from around the world, but it makes a world that's so big so small, and it brings so much in so easily that it's, I hate to say that I was wrong, but I did admit that I was wrong about a lot of forms of social media because I didn't know there was so much value in them for, personal and professional development.
Right. I can definitely echo everything that you're saying right now. All right, cool. So, talking about going back to project-based learning, or I'm sorry, to PBL, what inspired you to try it, and what does it look like in your classroom?
This year, because I'm teaching a class that has now Spanish 3, 4, and 5 with 17 students, and it's like different schedules, I had to go about it in a different way because of the numbers, and the students aren't there on the same day. So what we've done is we've broken the schedule, which is 6 days, where 2 of the days are focused on PBL. And during that time, the students just kind of work at their own, and I'm there on the side. And if they need some help, obviously I can answer them. I try not to drive them in a certain direction, but what we did this year is I had the students come up with their essential questions, and we posted them on different pieces of paper in the back of the room. And then I had other students get Post-it notes at the beginning of the year and just go through and read the questions and say, think like what questions came up as they were reading the question, like I wonder, what if, how can, and then give suggestions to the students. And then I decided I needed to do something a little bit bigger with it this year. And after going to EduMatch in August and seeing these other educators from around the world, I thought I need to take this more like global for them and get that authentic piece. And so using EduMatch, we connected with a couple of other schools in Argentina, Mexico, and Spain. And then I created a group on EduMatch for my students and the other students and our teachers. And they just started having discussions, asking questions. And then I thought, okay, we need to do something beyond that. So I added a Flipgrid video for introductions. And so it's been really awesome this year to see the students, interacting in a safe online environment, asking the questions and having such authentic responses that when they did their presentations last week and this week, that hearing them say, like the one young woman in particular just struck me the way that she worded it. She said, I can read books, I can look at videos, but I can't get that one-on-one authentic response of what it's like to live in those places. And then she said, and I said, this was just awesome. She said, it really helped me to sculpt my PBL. I was like, that's amazing. And she's right. I mean, just being able to sit there where we are and have students in Argentina putting a video on Flipgrid, and it comes to us right away, and then they saw the people, oh, they've been writing to Maria or writing to Jose, and they can see what they look like, and it was just phenomenal. So it has been a lot better. But the newer students who are not in the second year, they aren't sure of it because wait a minute, you're not telling us what to do or how to do it or how to present it. And I said, no, I'm not. That's a little bit uncomfortable for them because they're used to being guided in a certain way. But it's still a work in progress, and I have some thinking to do over the break about how do I want to go through, because we don't do one focus. They each pick their own, and then we kind of work through it together. But the next time I'm thinking if they want to pair up with somebody and find some kind of a problem to focus on instead, still connecting, we might go that route. But this is what this next break period is coming up with for the reflection. And I have them do reflections too, peer feedback, and their own self-assessment, and we talk about it.
That is cool. That was so cool to kind of hear your thought process as to where you're going next. So, absolutely, and just taking those steps and watching it just grow. And I love that authenticity piece that you brought in. That definitely makes learning stick.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. So, is there like a right way to do PBL? Like, what kind of tips would you have for anybody who's looking to begin in their classroom?
Yeah, it's funny about the right way. I mean, I know that I was doing it the wrong way because I was assigning the projects, and some of the things that I consulted with. I know when I was at Summer Spark, I had the opportunity to talk to Don Wettrick, who wrote Pure Genius, and just hearing what he does in his classroom and then taking the time to sit in his session. And actually, at the beginning of our school year, last year, when my students were really struggling with like, what do we do? How do we do this? I had sent him a message and said, would you mind, with Skype talking to my students for like 5 minutes? Well, that was on a Sunday. He sent back, he said, how about tomorrow at 10? I'm like, that's great. And he talked to them for like 40 minutes from in his classroom, showed the students working, had them interacting. And it was fabulous. So I definitely got a lot of information from him. But in between that time, I did look at the Buck Institute of Education and look through all their guidelines and read through all of the sample templates and things that they had there. Susie Boss had written a book on project-based learning, so I'd read that one. A friend of mine, Ross Cooper, and Aaron Murphy, I can say it, wrote Hacking Project-Based Learning. And so I did rely on them and Dive into Inquiry, which is another book by Trevor McKenzie that just offered a lot of guidance so that I kind of could figure out where I wanted to go with it. And all of them throughout that whole process, were there for questions. And what was really awesome for my students last year is when we went to the State Technology Showcase and they were doing the showcase, but also presenting instead of me to a session, they got to meet Ross and Aaron face to face. And Ross had done a Skype call with my students where they were presenting his essential questions to him just to see how it worked. And I know I was very thankful for them to have, all of these people who deal with it and have dealt with it for a while and know what they're doing, to kind of be able to say to me, yeah, this, and offer some feedback, and more importantly too for the students to kind of hear from them and have that other audience to kind of run their ideas by. So I would recommend, back to your original question, check out Buck Institute and connect with people on Twitter. There's PBL chat. If you do the hashtag PBL just to see what people are talking about. I mean, everybody is so open to sharing and helping out there that, you just ask the question, you're going to get a ton of answers and a lot of feedback too.
Yeah, that is so true. The PLN is strong, so absolutely. Cool, cool. So what other advice do you have for educators based on your experiences in the classroom?
I would say you have to step out of your comfort zone, which you hear that a lot more lately. And it's so true. And this summer, it really took, throughout this summer, and right before I went to EdModoCon, thinking like, I had just been teaching the way I had taught for so long. It worked for me in a foreign language. We copied everything. We did things a certain way. There was homework every night, worksheets. And I thought, you know what, maybe that worked for me. It doesn't work for every student. And there's nothing wrong with like getting out of the front of the room and giving up more ownership to the students in the class. And that seemed to be the missing piece, because I struggled last year with trying to get the students engaged and having them, it's hard to give assignments every single night. You want them to be meaningful and not just something that's repetitive, and not every student necessarily needs to do the same thing. So you need to listen to the students and give them a chance to be in charge. They love to take over. They love to work with their peers in the collaboration. And this year I've busted down my rows in my classroom, and I have them doing like workstations in the room with 4 different activities and rotating. It's exhausting to come up with all of that and different activities, but it gives me so much more time to move around and talk with each group and each student, and then also to stay away and let them kind of figure it out on their own. And it's been awesome, and the students are coming back now for the first time in a while, just saying like how much more they're learning and it's different. And like that's when I thought, all right, this is going a lot better. So you just need to kind of get out of the way a little bit, talk to them, see what their interests are, and it's okay to not be in the front and talking the whole time.
Exactly. So moving away from that whole sage on the stage, is that what they call it?
Yeah, guide on the side.
Yeah, become the guide on the side. Love that. Love that. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you, Rachelle, as always. So if anyone wants to learn more about you or more about what you do, then how can people connect with you online?
They can connect with me on Twitter, and it's RDENE915. I also have a site where I just post blogs and things I've written, just our experiences. I like to just share what the students are doing when they're creating, and it's my same Twitter hashtag. It's just the www.rdene915.com, and it's just ideas that I've posted, and yeah.
Sweet. Well, that is awesome. Thank you again for taking the time to chat with us tonight. And shout out to Kathy, who is interacting on the YouTube live page. So, Kathy, yes, another EduSnap 17 contributing author. So, yeah, always great to see all of you. So, speaking of that, we're going to have one more author tonight in our author bonanza. So, we're going to have Peg coming up at 8 p.m. Eastern. So, that is in 39 minutes, if I'm doing the math correctly. So definitely stay tuned for that. And we'll be at the same bat channel, podcast.edumatch.org/tweet talk. So thank you again, Rachelle, and everyone have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Thank you.